Welcome to Psychopath In Your Life. This is episode number 33. I'm your host, Dianne Emerson. I'm the author of the book Psychopaths in Our Lives, My Interviews, which is now available on Amazon and iBooks. I've been doing some thinking, and the podcast for the next few weeks is going to be in shorter versions because I want to chat about questions I hear often and provide some of my thoughts to those. So what I'd like to do is, today I'd like to talk about if psychopaths have the ability to love and how victims intersect with all of this. Can psychopaths ever love? I get this question asked quite often. And I'd like to start off by giving you a viewpoint from a victim that I find to be highly relative to this and how victims will deal with how they view the love. So let me start off here with what a victim who I would call Amy had to say. I was so idealistic. Although my instincts warned me, my heart wanted to believe the lie. You want them to see you, to become warm and soften. But if they do, it's only to fool you. They mete out these false drops and trickles of love so they can maintain a hook into you. And you dangle, praying for more of something. What is it? To be seen for a nanosecond, even a tiny strand of validation? A microscopic drop of love reciprocated? Not realizing that the love you pour out to them becomes a spider's web you weave and ensnare yourself in. Your love perverted, turned inside out, and will be wielded as a weapon against you. And I'd like to repeat that last line of what they'll do with your love. Your love perverted, turned inside out, and will be wielded as a weapon against you. So, I would like to go on the record and say that psychopaths are unlikely to ever make actual restitution or dedicate themselves to changing anything for his or her victim. To be very clear, without a conscience, that is what separates us from them. You need a conscience to really understand and enjoy both love for self and others. To be a clever, calculating psychopath, you need to learn what those things need to look like to fool society. As one of them said in my interview, he had to grow up learning what buttons to push for what result. Love is not a feeling for them. It is crafted to lure and trick people. It is knowing the words but not the steps. Oh, I always get these quotes confused. You know what I mean. You know the words but not the beat to the song, something like that, but you get it. Okay, so, but what happens is victims are typically, they've been so abused that they hold everything against themselves. So that's where a lot of this maneuvering in the love situation can come because you're now blaming yourself for things. So the idea of what actual love is can become very distorted. There's lots of shame because they feel they've been so stupid. If all of that isn't bad enough, typically no one believes them. I can tell you this from firsthand experience. It's probably, well, they're all bad, but it's a very ugly place to be in when no one believes you. And society still to this day, and the reason for this podcast has what I call the Ted Bundy image of what a psychopath is. Here we are talking about someone who is in your life, not hanging out in alleys with a butcher knife, sitting next to you. I will never be convinced a psychopath will ever change in a way that would cause less victims or less pain in the world. That is what evil does. Causes pain to people, creates victims, and makes the world a tougher place to navigate. Besides, it's baked in the genes. It's not something someone is sort of either or they sort of aren't. So anyway, well, that's it for today. And in future podcasts, another question that comes up an awful lot is I'd like to talk about, can you win? What is the concept of winning with the psychopath? So I hope if you like this podcast that you'll subscribe and share it on social media. I haven't gotten any further on the social media thing, so I do really appreciate your support in that area. And thanks for any help that you may have in promoting this link to the podcast. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Facebook, YouTube, and the website. If you go to the website, which is the same name as this podcast, psychopathinyourlife.com, there's also an audio box there so you can listen directly. And I also have an email address, which is Dianne, Dianne, at Dianne Emerson, DianneEmerson.com. But if you'd like to remain independent and have your email address not shown, there's also a box we set up at the website, and you can just contact me through that box without having to enter any of your data. So I would like to encourage you to, if you feel like you could use some support, go to psychopath-research.com, and there's still a few of us there talking. So if you have some things you'd like to talk about, I am very much pro journaling. I've seen it work. I know it can work. So anyway, I'd like to close with today that when we're ready to hear the answer, it will appear. Goodbye for now. See you next Tuesday.